that BBC employees lied and used fake documents to obtain the interview with my mother, made lurid and false claims about the royal family.
Diana, Princess of Wales, has reportedly been killed in a car accident, according to reports that have come to us from Paris. It has just been revealed that Princess Diana's niece has dropped a major truth bomb, and it is not something that the royal family wants you to hear. She's been keeping quiet for many years, but now she is beginning to emerge from the shadows with a story that is so explosive that it has the potential to change all that we thought we understood about Diana's world. Instead of focusing on the glitz and glamour of a fairy tale, this is a straightforward confession that reveals the grief, secrets, and turmoil that everyone sought to keep hidden behind the scenes. Get yourself ready, for once you find out what she has been keeping hidden from you, there is no turning back.
Shocking allegations about Princess Diana's death. Authorities now reviewing the new and sensational claim that she was actually murdered by the British government.
From the depths of the darkness, hidden Spencer rises. Throughout the years, everyone's attention was focused on Princess Diana, the princess of the people who won the hearts of people all around the world. In spite of this, there was another figure silently waiting in the wings within Diana's own family, a person who has now emerged into the spotlight in a manner that no one anticipated. We would like to introduce you to Lady Jane Fellowes, the concealed Spencer who is at long last rising from the shadows and attracting attention with her impact that is both modest and powerful. In contrast to Diana's more prominent existence, Lady Jane has maintained a low profile for a very long time. Despite the fact that her sister's celebrity reached unfathomable heights, she avoided the spotlight and did interviews only on a very special occasion. In point of fact, she was once so intent on remaining hidden that she turned down the opportunity to be featured in big documentaries on Diana. The people who were closest to the Spencer family were aware that Jane was a private pillar of support for the people she loved, despite the fact that many people were curious about why she decided to remain mute. On the other hand, Jane's unassuming role was completely transformed when, in 1997, she traveled to Paris with Prince Charles and her other sister, Lady Sarah, in order to carry Diana's body back to the United States. In that moment, when the entire world was watching, Jane went forward with dignity and grace. It was a particularly heartbreaking moment. At Diana's funeral, she even gave a reading, which was a heartfelt tribute that provided insight into the strong relationship that existed between the two sisters. Her inconspicuous deeds have had a significant influence on William and Harry over the course of their lives, for a variety of reasons, including attending significant occasions in their life and warmly welcoming them at family reunions. Lady Jane has developed to become a reliable confidant. She is now in a position to help bridge the split between Harry and William, according to several individuals who have access to the situation. Despite the fact that she is aware of the weight of royal expectations, she continues to be absolutely loyal to the well-being of her family, above all else. And another indication of her influence? The fact that her daughter Laura is now the godmother of Princess Charlotte is evidence of how closely her branch of the Spencer family is still connected to the current generation of royals. Those who keep up with royal news are aware that Jane is a significant force behind the scenes, despite the fact that her name is rarely featured prominently in the news. Then why is Lady Jane taking the initiative at this time? There are others who believe that she is attempting to preserve Diana's legacy by providing genuine family togetherness at a time when the royal world appears to be more fragmented than it has ever been. The compassionate willingness of Lady Jane to stand by her nephews and be true to the principles that her late sister held speaks loudly in a world when secrets have the potential to destroy reputations. It is possible that the concealed Spencer does not try to attract the attention of the cameras. Yet, her emergence could have a shockingly significant impact on the trajectory of royal history. Night of Anger is Laura's interpretation of the last few hours of Diana's life. Throughout her entire life, Laura Fellowes had never experienced such a wave of emotion. Despite the fact that her mother, Lady Jane Fellowes, and her aunt, Lady Sarah McCorquodale, were well-known figures in the wake of Princess Diana's passing, Laura had made an effort to remain in the background. However, after years of suppressing her emotions, she made the decision to openly talk about what she went through during those eerie hours in August of 1997. At that moment, she was at home, and she was just half asleep when the phone rang. She was jolted awake to the point of complete consciousness by the concerned tone of her mother's voice. Diana was the victim of a tragic event, but the specifics of what had transpired were unknown. The television screen displayed breaking news bulletins that hinted at a tragedy that had occurred in Paris. Laura sat on the edge of the sofa and stared at the screen. She experienced an increase in her wrath with each new update that contradicted the previous one, as if the world itself was unable to determine what had actually taken place. Despite the fact that she was gripped by anxiety, she felt a burning sensation on the inside when she realized that nobody appeared to have trustworthy information. When Laura learned that Diana had passed away, she was initially shocked, but her initial astonishment was quickly replaced by a tempest of rage. She experienced a sense of helplessness, as the magnitude of the tragedy compels her to remain silent. How come the people who were closest to Diana had not been shielded from the rumors that were going around? The reports and the authorities were so disorganized. Why was that? What was the reason behind the devastating news that her cherished aunt, a woman who had devoted a significant portion of her life to helping others, was reduced to a headline in a matter of minutes? As soon as Laura's mother and Aunt Sarah flew to Paris to accompany Prince Charles in his mission to bring Diana back home, Laura's fury only intensified. To this day, she vividly recalls the helplessness she felt while waiting in London, eagerly listening in to each and every newscast in the hopes of gaining some sort of insight. It felt unreal that someone who was so full of warmth and compassion had passed away for good, leaving behind a family that was struggling with shock and sadness while the cameras of the world watched. Laura was able to forge a determination that night. Although she was dissatisfied with the disarray and the absence of answers, she was also aware of the extent of the affection that people all around the world had for Diana. After some time had passed, the original animosity transformed into determination. In order to pay tribute to Diana's spirit, she wanted to show her support for her cousins William and Harry and to advocate for the subjects that Diana had been passionate about. When Laura thinks back to that evening, she still recoils in horror at the remembrance of the shocking news and the indignation that was fueled by her anguish. On the other hand, she is of the opinion that telling her tale is a step towards achieving acceptance, a means by which one might transform their grief into a quiet but unwavering determination to preserve Diana's legacy of kindness. Ever since the terrible death of Princess Diana in 1997, there have been rumors that a royal cover-up has been going on quietly beneath the surface. When it became public knowledge that Diana had been mortally injured in a Paris tunnel, the entire world watched in disbelief. Almost immediately, speculations began to circulate regarding the possibility that essential information had been concealed in order to safeguard the prestige of the royal family. Despite the fact that numerous inquests and official declarations pointed to a combination of driver error and unrelenting paparazzi, many people continue to doubt whether or not the complete truth was ever exposed. Because of the instant disarray that occurred during the night of the disaster, a portion of the suspicion is based on this. A few individuals who were close to Diana recall that contradicting information was being disseminated through official channels. While one individual maintained that she had suffered grave injuries, another insisted that she had truly passed away. Mrs. Sarah McCorquodale, the sister of Princess Diana, has expressed her distress regarding the events that transpired that evening. She has stated that she had a wave of fury due to the chaotic stories and the jumbled messaging. It has been argued by critics that if such crucial particulars were being handled in such a careless manner, then perhaps larger realities were also being concealed. At the inquest that was held in 2007 to investigate Diana's death, more fuel was added to the fire. In spite of the fact that the jury ultimately came to the conclusion that Diana and her companion, Dodi Al-Fayed, were unlawfully killed by a combination of impaired driving and intervention by photographers, there were certain parties involved who intimated that they believed the inquiry did not cover every underlying element. The modest but emphatic insistence of the Spencer family that the investigation be conducted in a comprehensive manner made news. In spite of the fact that they never directly accused the palace of improper behavior, many people were left wondering what extra truths they were looking for as a result of their pursuit of clarity. Supporters of these cover-up ideas have, over the course of time, consistently pointed to Diana's own comments as a possible piece of proof. She previously made a famous statement about how she felt unprotected under the royal establishment, even going so far as to claim that individuals working for the company considered her difficulties with mental health as nothing more than a nuisance. Additionally, There are the covert recordings that she made for her biographer Andrew Morton, which depicted a woman who was adamant about being heard, even if it meant going against the decorum of the royal family. On the other hand, not everyone is convinced that there was a cover-up. Some people believe that what actually took place was a chain of fatal mistakes that were compounded by the constant pressure from the media. Despite this, the allegations continue to be made, which is fueled by the striking contrast between Diana's outgoing nature and the royal family's customary silence. The ongoing force of Diana's story is demonstrated by the allegations leveled against her, regardless of whether or not they carry any weight. The mystery of what might have been concealed and the reasons behind it continues to interest people all across the world, even after several decades have passed. During the conflict at Althorp, sparks spread throughout the Spencer family. There has been a long-standing association between Althorp, the stately ancestral house of the Spencer family, and the qualities of tradition, history, and regal allure. Nevertheless, rumors of a family conflict have been circulating within its magnificent walls, which has caused tongues to wag. Althorp has been at the center of difficult feelings and power conflicts among her siblings, Lady Sarah McCorquodale, Lady Jane Fellows, and Charles Spencer, 9th Earl Spencer, ever since the devastation that occurred with the passing of Princess Diana. Despite the fact that Diana is remembered all across the world as the adored princess of the people, her older brother and sisters have been working quietly to maintain peace. However, some with knowledge of the situation claim that tensions are still rising behind the scenes. According to others, the origin of the problem can be traced back to Diana's upbringing, when her parents divorced when she was still a little child. Although it was reported that Sarah and Jane, who were both older, were protective of Diana, it was also said that they had their own suggestions regarding how the Spencer name ought to be maintained. As a result of Diana's marriage to Prince Charles and subsequent meteoric rise to prominence, her siblings were forced to balance their need for solitude with the intense amount of attention they received from the media. Over the course of their lives, each of the siblings has carved out an own route. A fiercely private existence was maintained by Jane, while Charles assumed the official job of Althorp's steward. Sarah devoted herself to charitable work, and Jane kept a fiercely private lifestyle. However, after Diana's passing, Althorp itself became a hotspot in the conflict. Not only is the estate a national treasure, but it is also the location where Diana chose to be laid to rest. There are reportedly differences of opinion over the most appropriate way to commemorate her memory. Should Althorp host a greater number of activities open to the public? Instead, should the family make an effort to preserve its peace? Due to the fact that Sarah has frequently been close to Prince William and Prince Harry, she favors an approach that is polite and honors the charity legacy that Diana left behind. Jane, who is known for her quiet manners, is of the opinion that an excessive amount of publicity diminishes Diana's memory. While this is going on, Charles, in his capacity as Earl, has the last say. Nonetheless, he is accused by some of giving modernization and press engagements the highest priority in order to maintain the estate's profitability. Sarah and Jane are reportedly concerned about the continuous conflict between William and Harry, according to rumors that have been circulating. They do not want Althorp to become a battleground for greater tension. Rather, they want it to be a place that brings back memories of their mother's spirit for the brothers. Observers claim that every summer reunion or big milestone stimulates fresh dispute over Althorp's direction, despite the fact that official declarations assert that the family is united. Regardless of who is in actual control of the situation, one thing is quite obvious. Althorp continues to serve as a constant reminder of Diana's presence, greater than life. And for the Spencer family, striking a balance between their personal aspirations and the cherished memory of their loved one can feel like a tempest that is always on the verge of erupting. Why she chose to remain silent, and why she is speaking at this moment. Over the course of several decades, Laura Fellows, Princess Diana's less well-known niece, was subjected to a significant amount of media attention over her famous aunt's life and untimely death. Laura made the decision to remain in the background, despite the fact that her mother, Lady Jane Fellows, and her aunt, Lady Sarah McCorquodale, both had their own time in the spotlight. In order to keep her feelings hidden and out of the reach of tabloids, she attended family gatherings, quietly supported charitable activities, and quietly supported charitable initiatives. Many people with knowledge of the situation claim that she struggled in secret with a profound rage and sadness that erupted on the night that Diana passed away. An unforgettably painful loss that will forever bind the Spencer family together. Why, therefore, do you maintain your silence for such a long time? Laura was said to have always felt a huge sense of duty to save her cousins, Princes William and Harry, from experiencing any further suffering, as stated by many who were close to her. The media frenzy made the family's loss much more severe, and she was afraid that every remark she made could add more fuel to a press machine that was relentless in its pursuit of information. The fact that she found herself feeling overshadowed was another factor that did not help. Laura was under the impression that the public was more interested in more prominent headlines and royal exclusives, and that her own personal reality was relegated to the margins. Instead of fighting against rumors and cameras, she decided to take a more discreet approach, allowing her mother and aunt the opportunity to express themselves when it was necessary. With that being said, time has a tendency of altering one's perspective. Since William and Harry have reached adulthood and are now pursuing their own interests, Laura feels that the time has come for her to break her silence. In the past few months, there has been a lot of new talk about Diana's dying hours, as well as discoveries about who knew what and when. Unfortunately, these revelations have brought back unpleasant memories. Laura acknowledges that her narrative, which is about a niece who is attempting to deal with sadness and issues that remain unanswered, has the potential to shed further light on the hectic night that occurred in August of 1997. She has great expectations that her voice will finally bring some of the crazy rumors that have been circulating about Diana's passing into disarray and bring attention to the emotional energy that was required to allow the official story to go uncontested. The reason she is speaking at this moment is not to smear anyone's reputation or to stir up controversy. Rather, she is speaking in order to pay tribute to Diana's steadfast compassion and humanity. Laura hopes that by disclosing the ways in which her aunt's passing actually impacted her, she will be able to keep Diana's spirit alive in a manner that extends beyond the headlines. Love for her aunt, respect for her cousins, and the need to preserve what is left of Diana's long legacy are the driving forces behind her choice to come forward. In the end, her decision to come out is rooted in the same motive that maintained her silence for decades. Shocking entries from a diary are revealed. Sometimes a single written page can completely alter our perception of a person for the rest of our lives. This is precisely what occurred when the private journal entries of Princess Diana were purportedly made public, which caused shockwaves to travel through both her admirers and her detractors. The world held the misconception for many years that it had learnt everything there was to know about the cherished people's princess. Then, rumors began to circulate about handwritten letters that had been concealed by intimate friends or stashed away in storage. That conveyed a story that was much more personal. The heartbreaking toll that Diana's participation in the royal family took on her emotional well-being is revealed in these journals, according to authoritative sources within the royal family. In spite of the fact that she was the most photographed woman on the planet, she decided to jot down her concerns regarding the persistent harassment from the media, as well as her profound sense of isolation. A few of the entries demonstrate a profound sense of exasperation with the rigid regulations that govern palace life, which stipulate that every smile, wave, and step must be faultless. The insiders argue that anyone who reads these pages will see a side of Diana that very few people outside of her tight circle were able to glimpse. They say that Diana was a young woman who was struggling to cope with a world that came across as both glamorous and stifling simultaneously. On the other hand, the diaries also document the profound affection that Diana had for her two kids, William and Harry. She wrote fervently about shielding children from unpleasant tabloid headlines, as she desired for them to see what genuine compassion looked like beyond the confines of the palace for themselves. The thrill she felt in taking them on a private journey to visit AIDS patients so that they might experience the transformative power of kindness directly is described in one of the entries. Every single sentence that she wrote out of the goodness of her heart conveyed the sense of modesty and commitment that she wished to inculcate in her sons. Reportedly, these same diaries record the horrors that she went through, not just as a result of being in the public glare, but also as a result of betrayals committed by individuals whom she considered to be her closest friends. Yes, there is a great deal of sadness and fury, but there is also a passionate determination to triumph over everything. Diana went from being a timid and hesitant youngster to becoming a powerful advocate for humanitarian concerns. You can almost sense the shift that she went through. A person who refused to let sadness define her is revealed by the scribbles. Instead, she chose to concentrate on the activity that brought her soul to life, which included doing volunteer work for charitable organizations, going to hospitals, and assisting those who are frequently ignored by society. Despite the fact that some people are skeptical about the authenticity of these stolen letters, many who are close to Diana are adamant that they are accurate. They build a vivid picture of a lady who gave her heart to everyone she met, but who frequently felt isolated in her own world. If they are real, they present a vivid portrayal of the woman. Despite the fact that they have shared family memories for many years and had a close sibling bond in the past, Prince William and Prince Harry appear to be more estranged than they have ever been. Their arguments continue to generate a lot of excitement in the media, and royal commentators speculate about how or if the two could ever reconcile their differences. One of the most important aspects of the situation is the legacy that Princess Diana left behind, which both of the brothers cherish deeply. Despite the fact that they have a common commitment to their late mother, this has not been sufficient to bridge the growing gap that exists between them. Those that are looking for hope are those who look to the Spencer side of the family. Since their mother's demise, Diana's sisters, Lady Sarah McCorquodale and Lady Jane Fellows, have been discreetly supporting both William and Harry. They have given their support to both of them. According to those with authority, these aunts continue to act as a source of solace and stability. Sarah continues to participate in humanitarian activities that are near and dear to Diana's heart, while Jane, who is acknowledged for her calm demeanor, has maintained cordial relationships with the royal family throughout significant life events like as marriages and christenings. In spite of the fact that they are engaged in a well-publicized brothers' quarrel, both sisters present a cohesive front for their nephews. Recent occurrences provide evidence that not everything is lost. The fact that both William and Harry were there at the funeral of Lord Robert Fellows, Lady Jane's husband, gave some people reason to believe that there is still a chance for a positive outcome. There are a few observers who point out that William might have skipped the gathering if there was a clear aim to fully avoid each other. The fact that the two individuals were able to pay their respects to a cherished uncle while standing under the same roof is illustrative of the fact that personal allegiances may occasionally bridge even the most profound rifts. There are still tensions, which are said to be fueled by Harry's departure to the United States, his public comments about royal life, and disparities in the manner in which each brother navigates the responsibilities and traditions of their respective roles. Some people believe that William has a protective attitude towards the organization that he will one day manage, whereas Harry places a higher priority on the liberty and well-being of his own family than he does on maintaining royal protocol. All of these divergent points of view have only served to exacerbate the tension that had been building up ever since Harry resigned from his official responsibilities. When it comes down to it, only William and Harry are aware of whether or not there is a viable way to reconcile. Nevertheless, royal celebrations such as marriages, christenings, and the presentation of Diana's statue demonstrate that they are able to join together to honor their mother's memory. In the midst of everything that is going on, Lady Sarah and Lady Jane continue to remain in the background, quietly advocating for love, unity, and peace wherever they can. Nobody knows for sure whether or not those efforts will ultimately be successful in mending the breach. However, if there is any silver lining, it is that Diana's family connection continues to provide a glimmer of hope, pointing the way towards the possibility of a reconciliation, despite the fact that it may appear to be a long way off. Having tangible evidence of Diana's final pleadings? Have there ever been pages or letters that showed the greatest anxieties that Princess Diana had, her dying wishes, or an urgent need for assistance? Her journal entries and personal notes that she kept have been missing for a long time, and there have been rumors going around concerning them. These rumors could potentially shed new light on her emotional state in the weeks leading up to her vehicle accident in Paris. In spite of the fact that many people who were close to the deceased princess maintain that only pieces, such as letters to friends that are rarely discovered, still remain, there are others who believe that more substantial writings are concealed and waiting to be released. The fact that Diana herself admitted that she felt isolated by the firm, the royal machine that she believed had failed to protect her at times, is among the most compelling pieces of evidence. Several members of Diana's immediate family, including her sisters Lady Sarah McCorquodale and Lady Jane Fellows, have raised the possibility that she communicated her concerns in writing, particularly at the times when she felt that official channels were ignoring her. In the nights that she confided in them, she was terribly upset by the pressures of the paparazzi and the severe demands of royal life. They remember those nights very clearly. The process of writing everything down, from heartbreaking confessions to practical ideas for a more calm life, was allegedly another strategy that Diana utilized in order to cope with her situation. A significant portion of this information was never disclosed to the general public. In the wake of Diana's untimely death in 1997, the Spencer family made a concerted effort to protect her legacy and protect their privacy in the face of intense media attention from across the world. Althorp, the ancestral house of the Spencer family, and also the location of Diana's ultimate burial place, is said to have been the location where certain documents and diaries were discovered locked away. Several individuals with insider knowledge have come out over the years asserting that they have seen or handled these documents. However, none of them have come forth with conclusive evidence. It is either that they are carefully guarded by family members who would rather honor her memory in private, or that they simply do not exist in the dramatic volume that some people make them out to be. Concerns regarding royal retaliation. Ever since rumors began to circulate that certain members of Princess Diana's family were prepared to expose concealed information concerning her final days, there has been an increase in the volume of discussions regarding the possibility of pushback from the palace. Some individuals with knowledge of the situation believe that the monarchy is not in the least bit willing to allow any new revelations to further ruin its carefully maintained image. An undertone of disquiet is felt by those who are closest to the Spencer family. This unsaid concern is that if they were to step out of line, it may result in closed doors and abrupt silences from the most powerful corners of the royal institution. Moreover, they are not hazy rumors. Particular occurrences have given rise to serious concerns. A number of years ago, the palace was quick to put an end to rumors regarding Diana's private letters, with officials implying that private things should be kept behind closed doors. More lately, even the possibility of diaries that portray Diana's raw side has been received with severe warnings about the need of preserving royal seclusion. Some commentators believe that it is obvious that this is not merely a piece of courteous advice, but rather a signal that the monarchy will not hesitate to enforce long-standing customs. This is a non-negotiable commitment, because silence is synonymous with survival. Members of the Spencer family, particularly Diana's sisters, Lady Sarah McCorquodale and Lady Jane Fellows, are aware that there is a fine line to walk between safeguarding Diana's memory and upsetting an institution that is accustomed to dictating its own narrative. They have, on occasion, taken a low-key step back in order to avoid the possibility of inflaming tensions. In spite of the fact that they have a tremendous desire to preserve Diana's essence, they are well aware of the potential ramifications that could arise if they get too close to sensitive topics about the royal family. Then, there are Diana's nieces and nephews, such as Laura Fellows, who grew up with their own memories and doubts about their memories of Diana. According to the reports, Laura's choice to speak out has been met with a number of precautionary signals that are somewhat subtle. Despite the fact that there have been no formal threats issued, the possibility of private pressure or veiled warnings is sufficient to cause anyone to rethink their decision to schedule any major interviews with the media. A royal institution that is passionately protective of its traditions is the driving force behind all of this. There are many who believe that the so-called company is dependent on its extensive network in order to carry out its orders, whether it is to influence the coverage of the press or to covertly discourage members of the family from communicating certain truths. Unofficially, those who are loyal to the monarchy may give the impression that a departure from royal favor could have repercussions for everything from public invites to access to much-loved family members. Can you tell me what the next step is for the niece who wore the crown? Never in her wildest dreams did Laura Fellows plan to stir up trouble in the royal pond. And now, here she is, on the verge of a new chapter that has the potential to change the way that people around the world remember Princess Diana. Throughout the years, she was simply referred to as the quiet niece. She was the daughter of Lady Jane Fellows, who was Diana's only sister. She chose to live a quiet life in which her family was her top priority, in order to avoid being in the news and to avoid being photographed. However, there are rumors that Laura has recently gained new insights regarding the closing hours of Diana's life and the emotional upheaval that followed. A group of friends who are close to Laura assert that her recent decision to speak up was motivated by a courageous wish to gain clarity. According to reports, she is sick and weary of hearing debates about her aunt's legacy that are dominated by conspiracies, half-truths, and garbage from the tabloids. Laura experienced a sense of helplessness as a youngster during all of the pandemonium. She's seen the anguish depicted in the eyes of her own family members, heard conflicting tales, and had the impression that grief was being manipulated for the purpose of public display. It is not enough to simply correct the misconceptions in order to go forward at this time. The purpose of this is to preserve the memory of her aunt in a society that continues to be obsessed with sensationalism. Nevertheless, what lies ahead for Laura is not without of potential dangers. There is a concern among some individuals that she would encounter a peaceful opposition from the royal institution or from individuals who would wish to preserve Diana's story firmly rooted in polished tradition. Time and again, the monarchy has demonstrated how vehemently it protects its right to personal privacy. There are ways for even unofficial channels to close ranks on individuals who deviate too far from the approved script. On the other hand, there are many who believe that Laura's attitude, which is kind, could potentially promote constructive dialogue, particularly among members of the royal family who are equally dedicated to honoring Diana's legacy of compassion and humanitarianism. There are many people who anticipate that Laura will make a cautious decision in the next weeks and months, striking a balance between her desire to avoid fueling controversy and her obligation to disclose the truth. There is speculation that she would provide an interview that dives into the more profound aspects of Diana's final days, or that she might choose to work with others on a private biography. It is possible that the public will react in a variety of ways, ranging from fervent support and widespread acceptance of her novel viewpoint to criticism from royal traditionalists who consider any public confession to be a betrayal.